everyone, welcome to today's webinar. We're just going to wait a couple minutes and let everybody join in before we get started. All right, it looks like the number of people rolling in is slowing. So I'll start and do just our housekeeping and our welcomes, just to kind of give us some time and get everybody settled in. So again, hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar. My name is Amanda Smith. I'm the Senior Manager of Demand Generation here at Propeller. Today's webinar is Propeller PPK with the DJI Mavic 3 Enterprise. Learn how Propeller PPK and the Mavic 3 Enterprise drone can enhance your business. With John Walls, Solutions Engineer at Propeller, and Simba Wang, the DJI Geospatial Channel and Solutions Manager. Before I hand the mic over to John, I have a few housekeeping items to cover. First, a recording of today's webinar will be available on demand after the live session and will be sent to you via email 24 to 48 hours after we conclude here. Next, if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in the panel at the bottom of your screen. We have a ton of attendees with us today, so we might not get to every question, but we do have a good amount of time allotted at the end in order to get through as many questions as possible. If we end up not getting to your question during today's presentation, the team, both DJI and Propeller, will follow up with you afterwards. All right, now, without further ado, John. Take it away.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. And thanks, everybody, for jumping in and attending. I know this is a very exciting topic that is piquing a lot of interest in terms of the new hardware that's come out. And I also want to thank Simba for joining on today's webinar. So very exciting topic that we can discuss. And that's that PPK workflow along with the new Mavic 3 Enterprise from DJI. So today's agenda, what we're going to cover is, who is Propeller? Some of you are probably very aware of the company DJI, the hardware that they offer, the multiple UAV solutions that they have, but you may not be familiar with who Propeller is. So we're going to talk about who Propeller is as a company, what solutions we can provide, and then the key benefits of using our PPK workflow, and then we'll do a quick platform walkthrough. And then we're going to break down that DJI Mavic 3 Enterprise, the new drone from DJI. We're going to turn that over to Simba, and then we'll get over to that the PPK live demo, and then doing those questions and answers at the end. So again, as Amanda mentioned, please continue to get those questions put into the chat box, and then we'll get to those towards the very end. So as we mentioned, who is Propeller and what is PPK? So Propeller, it's a turnkey 3D drone mapping and data analytics solution. And we're primarily focused on civil construction and the earthworks operation. So we believe that the people we serve in the construction and mining, aggregates, and waste management industries should have access to a technology solution that supports efficient surveying best practices, provides a higher level of data accuracy, and offers a safer working environment. Our success has been built upon the foundation of our key partnerships between Trimble, Komatsu, and of course, DJI. Now, these partnerships have allowed us to become a viable and recognized name in the earth-moving industry and be at the forefront of technological advancements for over 4,000 companies worldwide. The success is also built out from the inside by our dedicated team of over 200 staff across 7 countries, and those are located in North America, Australia, Europe, and in Eastern Asia. This allows Propeller to provide that 24/7 support from all aspects of the workflow, from flight planning, data processing, platform usage, and the collaboration of that data. Due to Propeller's data success and our customer success teams, we are able to provide high levels of support and with those high degrees of repeatable accuracy. So Propeller's mission is to provide real-time earthworks tracking for everyone. To pave the path to real-time, we've built hardware and software solutions that simplify data collection, processing, and analysis for heavy civil and resource operations. So before we proceed, I want to kick off with the poll. And the question is, what is keeping you from starting or expanding your drone survey program? So that should pop up here on your screen. I'm going to give you about 20-30 seconds to let everyone answer, and then we'll go through those results here in just a few minutes. We've got quite a few answers coming in already, so yep, I think a lot of the results is I just want to learn about the new drone, and I got to say that's it's not to give away the spoiler alert, but it's pretty amazing. DJI did a really good job with that. Cost is also a big factor, which I completely understand. And I will say that when drone surveying first came out, that the hardware it could be cost prohibitive. But costs have started to come down just as most technological advancements have improved. Those costs have come down. And then the buy-in from management. So that's one of the conversations we have here at Propeller is understanding that return on investment. So when you're buying, especially in the earth moving industries, when you're buying a $250,000 piece of equipment from, Komatsu or Caterpillar, that's an easy thing to understand the value of. You're buying the hardware, you see it. Whereas when you're buying a drone and then software, you don't actually see the immediate return on investment right away. But understand that the value is there from an efficiency gain and then from a safety standpoint as well. So great answers. And something that we're very well versed in here at Propeller. All right, so let's get into some more of the next topics that we're going to talk about here. So we talked about that mission. So how do we accomplish that mission? So Propeller processes on average about 8,000 surveys a month, ranging from a few acres to hundreds of acres in the construction, mining and aggregates, and waste management land space. The common theme between all of these industries is high accuracy that is repeatable. Now, the name of the game is to be more efficient in collection and dissemination of data to multiple stakeholders without cutting into already thin margins. Propeller has developed a combination of hardware, software, and the workflows to maximize productivity so that you're spending more time working with your data rather than on your data. So accurate drone surveys depend on ground control, which can be time consuming and dangerous to place around project sites. So we've produced the AeroPoint, a smart ground control point, and one panel can provide surveys of 75 acres with 1/10 of a foot of accuracy on the X, Y, and the Z. But collecting data is only the beginning. Processing is important with multiple parameters needed to ensure accurate results. Having a repeatable and accurate process in place allows our customers to trust the data they're receiving from Propeller. So using that PPK workflow or post-processing kinematic method, we've determined that this is the best methodology for our customers to ensure that survey over survey, it's accurate to 3 centimeters or better. The next piece is my personal favorite. That's part of the process. The Propeller platform is where the data is stored, and our customers can review the survey data, information along with their design data, and perform those analytics. So this is the time saver. And so instead of processing in one platform and then migrating to another to do those calculations, this web-based design creates that flexibility to create cut-fill calculations, quantity tracking or progress towards completion, stockpile volumes, and tonnages, pre and post-blast analysis for our mining customers, and then calculating airspace and cells towards top of waste and landfills. In just a few clicks, the Propeller platform allows our customers to get these numbers immediately after the survey has been processed and delivered. But what is data without the ability to share that information with stakeholders who need to see that information quickly? So Propeller offers various ways to share the results of the survey via PDF or CSV reports. Unlimited users are permissible on each portal without the need to pay for a seat license, or through a mobile link to the job site through our Crew app. So overlaying design data with analytics, you can share data to a mobile device that a site supervisor or a safety manager can have in the palm of their hand with locational awareness to verify existing ground conditions or make assessments about the environment of the project. So I do want to touch a bit more on that arrow point, as this is the solution that really allowed Propeller to take off in the UAV survey industry. The current arrow point model is the arrow point 2. It's the only smart ground control target on the market. So that has a GPS L1, L2 receiver in the middle of that target that captures locational data about every 5 seconds. It's equipped with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth capabilities. The data from the arrow target is transferred to the Propeller platform via hotspot on your mobile device after your survey is ready and when you upload the drone photos. It essentially acts as a high contrast ground control for our data success team to mark and as a base while the drone acts as the rover. The arrow points are tied to Propeller Corrections Network. It's a series of base stations around the world that Propeller uses to correct that drone imagery. ArrowPoint is also paired with a mobile app that you can use to review the strength of the signal the ArrowPoint has via SkyPlot map. Also check your battery life information and connect to that mobile hotspot to upload that Rhinex file to the Propeller platform. It's literally a one-button operation. You just place it on the ground, turn it on, fly your site, and then you're done. So the Propeller PPK method. So what's the great thing about that methodology? One, it's less time spent in the field. So when you're using the arrow points, you're going to be surveying a very complex site. You don't have to do the massive walk around those sites. So it's complex. Forget doing that complex survey walk. You're just eliminating any human error. So dropping a couple of arrow points down, flying your site. You're not manually walking those sites, taking those check shots. So that's eliminating that time spent in the field. Verifiable survey grade accuracy. Our automated PPK processing corrects onboard GPS data against the ArrowPoint data to deliver the progress data that's accurate within centimeters. That you can incorporate those check shots for an added layer of verification. So again, the repeatable accuracy is one of the big benchmarks of success for Propeller here. So when you're doing survey over survey, you know that your data is going to line up every single time. Drag and drop processing. Drag and drop your images from the drone into the uploader to the automated PPK geotag processing and photogrammetry in one option. So you take the drone photo SD card, drag it in, drop it into your photos. You're going to turn it over to our geodetic engineers, that data success team that we have that's been so critical to our success at Propeller. Some automated functionality to get that processing done, but then you're going to have human eyes who are going to QA, QC that data before it's delivered back to you. So then you know that every single time you upload that survey data to Propeller, it's going to be accurate. It's going to compare against your ground control point. It's also going to compare against your previous surveys to make sure that there's no shift in the X, Y, or Z. If there's anything that does come up, that data success team and your customer success engineer will be reaching out to you to adjust any best practices, make sure you're following the methodology, and then checking in to make sure that you're ready to go, which does tie into that 24/7 support. With employees spread around the globe, we do have the ability to chat live with someone on our team through the portal at any given time, any given day. So not everybody works at 9 to 5. You're doing work on a Friday night, Saturday morning, Sunday afternoon, middle of the day, middle of the evening, you're working on stuff. Someone's going to be available to help you out with some part of that process, whether that's flight planning, processing, platform analytics, or that collaboration. That's one of the great support tools that we have here at Propeller to make sure that we have that accurate data turn around back to you. So we've discussed at length the Propeller platform and how we help our customers, but really most of you did turn up to hear about the new UAV from DJI. So the Mavic 3 Enterprise is the latest survey-grade drone that Propeller is proud to partner with DJI with to deliver that PPK drone surveying solution. This drone is perfect for smaller earth-moving projects all the way up to a couple hundred acres due to the increased efficiency in the battery life and updated camera settings. Sim is going to dive into those updates in just a moment, but after multiple tests by our exceptional hardware and data success teams, Propeller is confident the results of the flights With this UAV, we'll match those by the other DJI drones supported by Propeller, which that's the M300, the Matrice 300, and the Phantom 4 RTK model. So if you're exploring options to integrate drone surveying into your workflow or update existing hardware in your fleet, the benefits of transitioning to the Mavic 3 Enterprise are exceptional. Survey time is expanded with increased battery life, larger sensor, and faster photo capture time. Easily cover 100 acres or more in ideal conditions without sacrificing accuracy along the way. Pairing this drone with the arrow points and that PPK workflow simplifies the survey process and still provides 30 centimeters or better accuracy in far less time than using traditional survey methods. Don't forget to keep the questions coming in, and we'll get to those at the end of the webinar. But let's get that turned over to Simba to talk about the star of the show. Simba?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the introduction. Thanks for hosting such webinar. So this is Simba from DJI. I just want to give you guys a quick, intro on myself. So I'm managing like DJI overseas geospatial channels and solutions. You guys all know that hardware is a key for DJI Enterprise team, and we're glad that this time we brought DJI Mavic 3 Enterprise, our latest flagship small size drones to the industries, which can help and boost and increase the efficiency to next level. Next slide, please. So before I dive into the Mavic 3 Enterprise, I want to give you guys a brief hierarchies on like DJI geospatial business and industries and how we structure our products into different portfolio. So we have like Mavic 3 Enterprise as our small size and portable mapping solutions. Well, it's an upgrade version compared to what we had in the past, which is the Phantom 4 RTK. But also we have a higher end optical camera system, which is DJI M300 RTK plus the P1 camera, which is a full frame and 45 megapixel camera. And also we have our LiDAR solution, which is DJI L1. If customer looking for some contour lines and other areas with vegetation coverage, so the L1 could be a great product for it. But also other than the traditional optical sensor and the LiDAR, we also have like our multispectral products, Phantom 4 multispectral, and of course in the future we're gonna have our like latest flagship small size like multispectral enterprise products coming soon. So this is how we structure like DJI hardware and to meet different layer of customer different needs who has different like efficiency and industries. And let's dive into Mavic 3 Enterprise into more detail. So again, this is our like latest and flagship DJI Enterprise small size high precision drone, which this time that compared with the Phantom 4 RTK in the past, that our RTK module is actually, you can detach it and you can, simply put it back on, which will definitely increase the, the capabilities for different type of applications. If you're looking at high precision mapping, you can use the RTK module. But if we're looking at some like general like search and rescue missions, so you can also put on top of the like like the speakers and spotlight, and those are the modules you can put and switch to different for different purposes and applications, like 1-inch thermal sensor combining with like 0.7 second per image, which actually increased the efficiency to next level. Compared with the Phantom 4 RTK, we're actually talking about at least like 50% more efficient. And also like they equipped with the DJI latest transmission technologies like OcuSync 3, which enable the maximum like over like 15 kilometers at this data transmission range, and higher flight speed. And also we have like our like one of the accessories, which is the DRTK 2.0. When you don't have like net RTK coverage, you can always rely on our like base stations to communicate with the drones and remote controllers. And because we define this products as a high precision products, so the accuracy is going to be always the key. So we're talking about like 1 centimeter plus 1 ppm, like equipped with RTK module like horizontal accuracy, Also like 1.5 centimeter plus 1 ppm like vertical accuracy, which will greatly increase the efficiency when we're talking about mapping. We don't really have to set up too many GCPs, and we can pretty much convert all the GCPs as the checkpoints to measure the accuracy. But also like, we have, because of it has RTK module on top of it. So of course that it requires and supports the real-time RTK, but also like the Propeller team mentioned that PPK is always going to be an option for a lot of purposes and applications and industries. And those are some, cases that will be super, super helpful and, suitable for like the Mavic 3 Enterprise. So this is one of the drones for BIM applications. That's one of our older products. By using drones, and it's saved the time, and also like reduce the cost, like, into a different level. If you guys can scan the QR code, you're able to read the full articles on how does the drone help the industries to save the time and increase the efficiency. So just scan the QR code, you will get the full stories and how that works. Next page, please. So this is another case for like heritage like modelings. Like, we all know that in Japan, China, some other countries, we're having a lot like, like Asian buildings. So sometimes like we do need to digitize that, and we do need to modeling all the buildings and for like future like protection purposes. So this case is actually happened in Japan. We processed it, we collected data, and we delivered 3D models, by using our small size drone. And this one was actually achieved by the Phantom 40K. But again, that will be right in the future, that will be the Mavic Enterprise. If you want to read more into detail, please scan the QR code, and that will have the full articles about it as well. Next page, please. So this is one of the key core features and benefits what Propeller can provide, which is the volumetric calculations like stockpiles, cut and fuse. This is the perfect tools and perfect drones, and it's portable, it's pocket drones. You can carry it onto your truck, fly with it, and go to the mission job site and quickly deploy the drones, fly and collect a data set. Once you have a data set, you're able to process the data into Propeller software to get all the cut and field data. Again, if you want to read more, please scan a QR code. It will have a full stories at how Propeller is handling and process the data from our geospatial products. And modelings and mappings gonna be a really common features and requirement for like geospatial products, right? Like we have buildings and we have roads, we have like towers, wanna be 3D reconstructed. It's similar, I would say, applications like heritage modelings, but different purposes. But once we have those modelings, so we're able to tag it and edit it into the metadata and make sure that we can manage all the 3D models, and we can place all the 3D models into the GIS platforms and to understand all the XYZs. That will definitely help decision maker to make decisions and have a deeper and more accurate analysis report. Again, if you want to read more into this case studies, please scan a QR code, and it will have a detailed stories there as well. Yeah, and also like the AECs and construction are the key, right? So not only the stockpile analysis, but also like, well, when we are building the actual, buildings and, stadiums. So progress monitoring, like the check is also important. So we can use drones to go to the job site and fly the area like periodically. And we can reconstruct the 3D models for different purposes to do the progress management. And also we can put like a metadata to, for example, once we have the 3D models and we can see this area need to be fixed and that area needs to have some other details, we can simply add the metadata into the 3D models as well and save it, and as customers like digital resources as well for the future purposes. So those are all the, I would say, the suitable cases for like Mavic Enterprise into the geospatial sectors, and compare with our traditional and previous generation of the high precision small size drones like Phantom 40K. What are the advantages of it, and also trying to give you guys the broader pictures and how DJI geospatial products leveled into different missions and different projects and different budget, from LiDAR, multispectral, and small size optical cameras. We offer all them all, and just trying to give customers the best choice that they can select. Thank you. I'm going to hand over back to Propeller side.
Great, Simba. Thanks so much for that breakdown. Yeah, so some of the great things that we talked about with that new Mavic 3. So if anybody's familiar with the Phantom 4 RTK drone, or if you're doing any of that drone surveying there with that type of equipment, some of the big improvements that we talked about with that drone is the increased battery life, and then the larger sensor on the Mavic 3. So we're going from a 1-inch camera sensor to a 4/3 of an inch, and then the shutter speed that Sima talked about. So it's goes from a 2.5-second capture rate to a 0.7-second capture rate. So you're actually able to fly. You're able to fly faster with that Mavic 3 Enterprise. Take the larger range of pictures. So you're able to cover more ground in a single flight than you would with the Phantom 4 RTK. So if you're flying a 7,500 acre site with the Phantom 4, you may have to do a battery swap, maybe two. With that Mavic 3, it's a single flight, no need to change batteries, and you're going to get the same results every single time. Also, another big thing that I'm a big fan of is the color change. That black contrast in the sky is much easier to see than the Phantom 4 RTK. So that's another big benefit that I do like with that upgrade. And then the smaller size, actually, I thought it was interesting how I noticed that the wind rating for the Mavic 3 was actually improved over the Phantom 4. So here in Colorado, we have some pretty windy days, and we've taken it out to a local regional park with completely wide open surroundings and flown it in some pretty high windy conditions, and still saw really good results in terms of battery life and battery consumption. So just in terms of if you're thinking about upgrading or getting into the drone survey program, this is a great drone to get started with, or change your fleet to. There's a lot of benefits to making that change. So we talked about those workflows at the beginning. So let's kind of walk through. This is a good visual representation of what that PPK workflow is. So we talked about taking those arrow points. You're just going to take them out to your site. If you're doing a residential site or you're surveying a mine, take your arrow points, place them around the site. So one arrow point will cover between 75 to 100 acres, depending on the elevation change. One arrow point covers that accuracy really well, as long as it ties into that CORS network. Then you fly your site, and you're planning. So you plan that mission on the Pilot 2 app. So you actually don't have to fly yourself. It's an automated workflow. So you stand there, hold the remote, make sure it doesn't find anything, which it shouldn't, because it's covered in sensors to make sure that doesn't happen. Once the flight is complete, comes back down, you hit the button again on that arrow point. It's going to upload the Rhinex data from the arrow point through that hotspot on your mobile device to the platform. You get back to your office or to make sure you have connectivity. Drag and drop the photos from the drone into the Propeller platform. At no more than 24 hours, you're going to get that full suite of data sets back from Propeller. So that's your 3D model, your orthomosaic photo, your digital surface and your terrain models, a point cloud data set, as well as contour files. And so one of the options that we do have in the Propeller platform is an automated classification tool that will remove equipment, vegetation, or structures from that survey. So you don't have to go through and worry about trucks or any other equipment or vegetation affecting volumetric calculations on your site. That's already in there for you. We do have additional manual tools if you want to make that call yourself. And then then you're doing those analytics there on the platform in a web-based browser. And as we mentioned before, as I did mention, we do have unlimited sites and unlimited users. So there's no seat licensing needed, and we don't limit you on the number of projects you're working on. So again, this can scale up to very large ENR 400 companies to small mom and pop shops that are doing small construction sites. We fit the mold one side or the other. And so that's when you're making those calculations, you're sharing that data out, and you're making those decisions. You're being more proactive with your decision making than you are being reactive with your decision making. So that's how that workflow goes. Whether in the benefit of using that Mavic 3 Enterprise is you're able to cover that larger ground more quickly, more efficiently, and still get really high results. And so that's one of the things we want to talk about next is that what does that look like? So I don't have an upload to give you, but we can show you some of the results from one of our previous flight tests. And so that's at Regional Park. I just want to confirm, Amanda, you can see the park site on that, correct? All right. So this is one of the regional parks here in Denver. Pretty good sized park. So you can see several different soccer fields or lacrosse fields, parking lots that we've flown several different times. And this is one of our testing grounds. So really good accuracy, really great precision, and then high quality ortho imagery. And so depending on the resolution of your screen that you're watching this webinar on, this may be really obvious to you, but I do like that the clarity of the photos are fantastic. So and then being able to use the platform, it's really easy to drag and drop your any design files in to the platform. So if you're doing any comparison between an existing ground file or a finished grade model, but you're able to quickly make calculations in here. And I did a couple of quick calculations before we started, and that's this curb elevation. So it does kind of give you an idea of the level of accuracy that we get. So this is just a quick measurement of the height of this curb. And that's going to be right here, and it's going to show you that elevation right there. So you see that the top of a curb to the ground by below it, and you're looking at a tenth of a foot, so just a few inches, and we're able to get that calculation right there. So that gives you that level of detail on the z-axis. It lets you know exactly how accurate that survey is. And then finally, I did want to go over to a goal line. So this is actually if you're familiar with the dimensions of a lacrosse field, and so the goal line should be about 6 feet in length when you set up the net for lacrosse. And so you see there's already a couple set up, but this is a guideline here. And so I did a quick measurement on that, and we're right at 6.01 feet. So you can see that the measurement of this area is incredibly accurate. So if you're doing any sort of calculation with, as-builts or checking your site for any measurements, whether that's volumetric or distance or areas, you're going to be very confident in the accuracy of that data on the platform. So I just want to show this to you. This is one of our M3E data sets that we use for testing, which is a really great result. So I'm really impressed with the Mavic 3. Again, I would also think that with how fast this drone was flying, you could potentially see, motion blur or, any sort of warping affect the accuracy or throw errors in the photogrammetric processes. But we didn't have those issues at all. And so it does a really good job in stitching those photos together and getting you those results. And so one of the last things I wanted to show is actually some of those calculations. So this is a residential build. And so one of the things I did mention was like dragging and dropping those designs in. So if you're dragging in a finished grade design for this residential, you're looking at a residential site, we do ingest, various types of files from a DXF to a TTM or a land XML file. And then you can use those design files as a basis for those measurements. And so here, we're tracking how much material has been moved between surveys. So if you're doing any progress, if you're doing any quantity checking between surveys, we're checking the January 24th flight between the December 18th flight. We get that heat map over here on the right. It's going to give you the location of the work that's being done. And you can use the mouse here on the platform as a check shot to see how much material has been moved between surveys. And then you get the volumetrics over here on the left side. And then finally, like I said, mentioning bringing in those design comparisons, you can also compare it against that finished grade design. So you're then able to track to see how much material you have left to move before you hit the end of your design. So how close are you to being balanced? So if you know you're moving an approximate amount of material on a biweekly basis, are you on schedule to hit that information? Are you on schedule to hit the end of that project? So when you're bringing in different contractors for concrete or moving into vertical, you can start to assess that the progress of your work over time. So this is the information that our platform can provide. And one of the other really big benefits that I kind of skipped over, but I do want to come back and reference, is the ability to process and localize coordinates. So the AEC industry typically uses localized calibration instead of a published state plane or UTM coordinates. And so this site here specifically has a JXL file, which is a localized calibration. That's how we're able to incorporate those design files in from a CAD program. So like from Civil 3D or AutoCAD or any other CAD program, you can bring in those design files, and that's how we're able to get those measurements. And so that's one of the big differentiators between Propeller and many other analytics and processing softwares that we're able to process in those localized calibrations. So there's no need for the analyst or for a CAD technician to export survey data from processing software and then georeference it back to the localized coordinate system. You're able to do that all within that platform. So I just wanted to share that real quick and let everybody see, one of the, a couple of the really big powerful tools with the Propeller platform. I think with that, I just want to show that out there. And then if we have any, if you're interested in looking at further information regarding the platform or getting started with that UAV program, or expanding your program or upgrading your hardware, please don't hesitate to reach out to Propeller after the fact. But what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into some of those Q&A. So I'm going to turn it back over to Amanda and let her delegate those out.
Yeah, we got a ton of great questions in. I'm trying to get through all of them. So thank you guys. Feel free to keep dropping them in. Any that we don't get to during our allotted time, I will be following up with both John and Simba to make sure that you guys are getting your questions answered. So let's get started. I had a couple of questions come in about the park flight that you did. Can you kind of go through what your flight settings were, alt, speed, etc.?
Yeah, so Propeller does have, so part of the testing process was allowing the data success and the hardware team to go through and figure out exactly what those settings would be to get to the those ideal parameters. So I'm going to say I think we flew at about 325 feet. We have shutter speed set to 1/1000th. There's one of the warping option that's in there as well that needs to be turned on. Your ISO setting is set to automatic, and then timed your distance interval is also the critical aspect to when those photos are taken. So those are the settings, and then we have the RTK module actually turned off because we don't want to have those images corrected during the real-time processing when it's during flights. We want to make sure that we're correcting those images after the fact through the PPK workflow. But we do have, if you were to upgrade that's actually part of the knowledge base that we have, is walking through all of those parameters to make sure that we're capturing that best image for that processing. So good question, and that's one of the things that the customer success engineers will walk through in great detail to make sure that those are met.
Amazing. And are you flying that manually or are you using a flight path?
You're using the flight path for that. So when you're launching into the Pilot 2 app, you will select you'll draw a polygon or linear flight, but it's a 2-day flight plan around the area that you're wanting to fly. You will set your camera settings, you will set your flight settings. Overlap is 75-70. That's one of the things I want to mention is the overlap there. And then you hit engage, and then the drone takes off and flies itself. So it's an automated flight. You actually don't do anything. So we recommend doing that because the machine is built to capture that data consistently. This is one of those items where the machine is actually better than a human at this point. So your photos are going to be really consistent every single time. Going to make that photogrammetry process and stitching those orthos together really easy for us to do that.
Amazing. We did have a couple questions come up, kind of asking Propeller PPK, drone deploy, Pix4D. Could you kind of talk about the comparisons between the three?
Yeah, great questions. And that's, something we get quite often here at Propeller. And, I am a former drone deploy user and a former Pix4D user, and those are all great programs. Really great to get started with, really easy to adopt. I will say that, drone deploy is really, does a lot of things really well, but they are all things to everybody. So we specifically focus on that earth moving industry. So our tools are built out for that volumetric calculations with that degree of accuracy. And I will say one of the big advantages that we have over drone deploy is that ability to ingest those localized calibrations when we're doing that processing, as well as Pix4D as well. So that's one of our big advantages there, and then with Pix4D, Pix4D has a lot of, I would say Pix4D is a very advanced photogrammetric processing option. If you are not a photogrammetrist, then it might be a little overwhelming. If you are working in an industry that you're in the construction industry, you're in the waste management industry, you probably don't have a photogrammetry background. It's really easy to get into Pix4D and not select the right settings, or make an adjustment or not make an adjustment if you need to. So with that in mind, it's one of those things that you want to turn it over to a geodetic engineer, such as anybody at Propeller, that we can make those adjustments for you, or we can make those recommendations for those flight settings to make sure that we are capturing that data effectively and efficiently. So yeah, I mean, we do come up quite a bit against those two companies, because they are quite ubiquitous in this industry. And like I said, they're great programs. We just tend to focus on these industries, and we do it really well. So
awesome. Thank you, John.
Yep.
Something came in. You mentioned importing design files. What type of file types can you import? And can we choose the state plane coordinate systems for California? A little bit more on that.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So yes, we do have access to all of the published coordinate reference systems. So state plane, UTM. When you select the location of your project, that's the next question is what is your coordinate reference system? So if you are in California, if you're in Southern California, it'll pop up. Do you want to use UTM 11? Do you want to use California State Plane 5? Or do you want to use a localized coordinate system? You have either option. So that's wherever you're at, whether that's in Canada, in the United States, in Australia, anywhere you're at, you have access to those published coordinate reference systems as well. So you can process in those as well. And then design files. So that's any sort of design, like a surface file. So like an existing ground or a finished grade or subgrade model, or any line work. So like planned utilities, existing utilities, anything that may have to do with road work, where you may have curb lines or gutter lines, that can be included as well. So The file types that we're looking to ingest are DXF files. So that's like the universal CAD program file. So not DWGs, that's specific to AutoCAD, but DXF files. We also ingest land XML files, TTM files, which is proprietary to Trimble Business Center. We also take in KMLs or KMZs, and then we actually just recently incorporated IFC files. So those are 3D models that are good for visual representation. So on that residential build, we have a couple IFC models that are available to be shown. It's like a couple of small apartment buildings that you can see just for visual representation of a 3D model on site. So that's the design file that we're talking about in our platform.
Amazing. All right. Found a question. Okay. Maybe not. Let's see. Guys, you are coming in with some great questions. Thank you so much. I am a party of one, so I'm trying to get through them all. Let us see. Okay, so one thing about data, does the workflow or jobs that you process become yours forever, or if the subscription ends, do you no longer have access to that data?
The data is yours. We store the data on our cloud server. So it's an Amazon web server. So you store the data on our platform. If you choose to end the contract, you can download that data. It is yours to have. And then we also do provide a storage option. If you do not want to continue processing with us, but you want to store your data, we do provide a storage fee option if you want to. But the data is yours. We just give you the storage space to let you do that.
Awesome. One thing came in, so kind of just, can you do like a quick comparison for why we do PPK over RTK, LiDAR, that kind of thing?
Sure, yeah. So RTK is great when you are doing maybe a single survey. I will say that I previously have flown RTK missions, and using that base station is great as long as you're not at risk of losing connectivity. That said, you don't always find out you've lost connectivity until you get back to the office to process your data. You also, if you're flying large enough sites, you may come across a latency issue between the base station and your drone. So, we're talking, large areas, but if you're flying a, 800, 900 acre, open pit mine, and your base station's on one side and your drone's put on the other side, there's a latency issue there. So we remove a lot of those. We like the PPK method because we remove a lot of those, variables from play. So you're taking everything offline. Essentially, what we're doing there is we're taking all of that offline. We're doing all the processing after the fact. You're still processing that data. We're just correcting it then while you're before the processing component, just to ensure that survey over survey is going to be that accurate. So if you're doing a single survey, if you're doing, that relative accuracy is incredibly important, because you need to check survey over survey. You're checking surfaces against surfaces. That's why we like that PPK methodology, because we know that the previous survey is going to be just as accurate as the next survey. If you're doing something like, I'm only flying stockpiles, you may only need an internal accurate model. RTK may be a way to go, but at that point, there's really no point in splitting hairs. You might as well just stick with the PPK methodology the whole way through. And then you mentioned LiDAR as well, as that came up. So LiDAR versus photogrammetry, two different ways to collect data. LiDAR is great if you are collecting data in a heavily vegetated area. So if you've got an area that's covered in grass, or going through tall tree canopy, LiDAR is the way to go. It's going to be more accurate in terms of giving you a true ground sample. Once you've cleared vegetation, once you've gotten rid of that element between your drone and the ground, photogrammetry is the way to go, because it's going to give you more accurate data on the X, Y, and Z than a LiDAR sensor would, unless you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a LiDAR sensor, but photogrammetry is still better, more accurate after you've cleared. So when you're looking at LiDAR, great for that first initial flight before you start clearing. After the fact, you could probably go back to photogrammetry. You're going to get a little bit tighter on the X, Y, and Z. When you're using that PPK workflow, you're looking at between 2 and 3 centimeters. Using LiDAR, if you're using the the L-Wayne sensor with the M300, you're looking between 5 and 7. So that's why you would probably go with photogrammetry after you clear flights, after you clear vegetation.
Awesome. Thanks, John.
Mhm.
Any chance, I had a couple questions come up about some reports in Propeller and kind of that sharing of information. Do you
Mhm.
have anything that we could possibly quickly show?
Pull up, yeah. Yeah, give me just a second. Let's see. Hold on. So here is pop up this. So this is see my screen? You see that?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So this is a stockpile inventory report. So what this is, so we circle the stockpile, and then calculate the volume of that stockpile. And then if you have a material type, we can include it in density of that stockpile, which then gives you a tonnage. And so once you create that report, you can then generate this stockpile inventory report. So one is you get when was the site surveyed, you get an overview map of what that stockpile looks like, the whole site, and then it breaks it down by type, what the stockpile name is. So they ended up putting in a 2-inch, 2-inch crush, 1/2-inch fines, the volume of that, what the density is, and then the material name, and then your tonnage. So then we've got 2,800 cubic meters of this 2-inch, and then we have that particular pile's got 3,000 tons with an approximate value of $32,000. And so that's your first page, and then your second page is going to be a stockpile by stockpile review. So you can see the circle, the pile that was calculated with each inventory broken down there. And then the last page is going to be the actual material total. So if you've got 5 or 6 piles of 2-inch, 2 or 3 piles of 1/2-inch, and then a topsoil pile, it's gonna consolidate those into one single report. So that's what the stockpile report looks like. A cut fill map. I can see if I can have one of those actually pulled up. So if you want to pause that share real quick. So I have one pulled up. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Yep. All right, so this is what a takeoff map looks like. So what we've done is we've set a grid on that residential site, and then we've incorporated the cut fill calculation towards that finished grade model. And so what it does is it gives you, if we zoom in a little bit more, you can see, so it gives you a breakdown of the grid of what the cut fill number is per, I think this was a 100-foot grid that we set up. So gives you the top surface, the cut number towards that finished grade surface. So it breaks that down for you that way, gives you contour files below it, and then it will give you a volumetric calculation over here on the bottom. So you see, we can see up here the visual reference, and then it gives you the map down here at the bottom. So we're still looking at about 110,000 cubic yards of total removal that needs to be taken care of. So that's a couple types of reports that we're able to bring out for you there.
Amazing. All right. So So a lot of people also still have the P4RTK. What is the expected accuracy of the M3 versus the P4RTK? What is the expected GSD?
So the GSD is dependent on how high you fly, but you're not going to see any difference between the two. So that's just depending on your elevation. So if you're flying the P4R at 325 versus the M3 at 325, it should be the same GSD.
Amazing. Let us see. We are getting close to the end of our time, but I think we have a chance for a few more questions. What about rock corridors? Similar narrow sites anywhere from 1,000 feet to 1 mile. Is PPK the way to go?
Rock corridors.
Rock corridors.
I don't know what a rock corridor is. What is a rock corridor? That is like a rock quarry, or like I'm not sure what that is.
Sites.
Small narrow sites. Oh, like maybe a long linear site.
Road. Rock road.
Rock road.
Thank you,
Oh,
Kyle.
road site. Okay. Yeah. So we do have several customers that are flying roads, road sites. Yeah, we're built up for that. So for the PPK workflow, we recommend an arrow point about every 3/4 to a mile. So if you're doing a 3 mile long segment, I would place an arrow point about every mile. So depending on the elevation change too. So if you're flying a long flat road, yeah, about every mile. If you're flying, I just did a flight about a month ago up in Rocky Mountain National Park. Obviously not very flat. So we were doing half-mile sections. So that was we were doing 2 arrow points at every half mile. So because we had about 180 feet between one end of the other. So yes, we're absolutely built out for long linear projects as well. So.
All right. What about someone had a question about our connectivity with the Trimble products?
Yep. Great question. So to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit, so Propeller is actually listed under Trimble's catalog. It's listed as Trimble Stratus, powered by Propeller. So we have a great relationship with Trimble. So our files are compatible with Trimble Business Center. You can take those the Surface files, put them into machine control, and then we're directly tied in with SciTech. So if you're familiar with Trimble, probably really familiar with SciTech, which is their like retail front that sells all of their hardware and software. So we are really tied in with Trimble and a great relationship with them as well. So if you're interested in pursuing that as an option, if you already have an existing relationship with the SciTech dealer, that's a great way to go. And then, like I said, we do tie in directly with TBC, and then all of those files are compatible. So.
Amazing. After the data has been processed in Propeller, can you download the photogrammetry model to a surface mesh?
Yes. So that's one of the processing options. You actually have to check it on. You have an OBJ tri-mesh option to turn on. So it's not automatically given to you, but if you ask that to be turned on, it will be delivered for you.
Incredible. All right. I believe that is the amount of time that we have necessary to get through all of these questions. Thank you guys so much for joining us. All the questions that we didn't get to, we'll be following up afterwards. So thank you so much. Yeah, really appreciate all of the time from you guys, from John, from Simba, for being with us today. If you want to go back to the presentation quickly, John, and just show this final screen, that way people have keeps going through. There you go. So if you guys have any questions while we're reaching out, we'll be following up 24 to 48 hours after the webinar with a link to view this webinar again. But here is the information. If you do have any questions in the meantime and you want to reach out, that's John's personal email. Hello will also go to all of us. But if you have any questions, we also have the marketing@dji.com if you have any additional questions for DJI. But I just wanted to say thank you again so much, John, Simba, everybody out there for joining us. It's been a great time. Love talking about this stuff. So thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Have a great one, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.